So when Thomas Jefferson and the early founders wrote about religious liberty, believe it or not, it wasn't so much because they were trying to raise up Islam or Judaism. It wasn't all that. It was because they were trying to bring Christians together. My argument to that is Christians, the Presbyterian, all the different sects of Protestants, they didn't fight with each other. So that should have told the early founders, like, what's different? Because you know what's different here. Because they wrote about what's different. But I understood. I mean, I get what they were hoping to bring. But they were very clear that there had to be a wall of separation. There isn't anymore. Because what the Vatican did is what they do everywhere. Okay, so we can't get into a kingship and control. So we're going to create parishes and organizations and orphanages and schools. And we will become the state religion because there'll be so many of us. And we will flood the country with more. Build more churches, more, which has none of that having anything to do with Christians. I get all of the people that are Catholic believe it does. That's what breaks my heart about it. So I don't care what president, because there would be, I mean, even Trump would call this out because all the presidents do this. I mean, he would call me out for saying this because all the presidents do the same thing when it comes to this, religious freedom. Even if they know that on the face of it what that's about. And that's really the problem. You can't run it out. But what could have at least taken place was no matter how many parishes they have. But this, I don't know what you do actually, because this is why, like, you know, that priest that was a priest for 50 years came out and said, no, they're flooding America because they're going to become the dominant religion and thereby exercise their political influence that way. And because our politicians just are like, well, religious liberty, you just ignore all that. They do because they don't know what to do. Nobody knows what to do because what do you do? You follow the Bible and you try to live together, okay? Which that's gone on. But what the government had a responsibility to do was not start partnering with it. And they did in many areas, like the state governments. You know, they have Catholic Charities all embedded in the kids' programs, in the kids that don't have parents. I've seen I've seen that system. That's the worst religion to be having, taking care of kids. I mean, at least they're organizations. But then they had all these NGOs at the border and everything too. So I had just read in one of my videos about how Thomas Jefferson said if Rome came in here, you know, and was trying to, you know, create some missionary, we should see it as a foreign aggression. They would never do that. They instead will just create their dominance to where they're more dominant than any other government. So what do you do about it? There won't be any leader that will do anything about it because there's nothing you can do except call it out. And even though the leaders won't, and again, you're asking and I understand what Thomas Jefferson's trying to say with wanting Christianity to come together, but you're asking people to be unequally yoked, and that is unfair of the government. It is. Did he see that it was going to end up here? By the end, I think they all saw that what a problem. They saw what it was doing, what the Vatican was doing, and what do? You know, the Constitution is written. Do you have anything in place for any of that? No, the only thing that can be done is the parishioners themselves. But they can't hear it. They can't. And many of them are too used to it doesn't make, even if everybody on the news came out and said it's been uncovered. I mean, here, put it this way. This is how much I've thought about it. If God himself came back and told the Catholics, you've been in a pagan religion, I think they would fight God. Because they want their cathedral because it's about them, it's not about God. They want their Mary worship because it's about them, it's not about God. That's what that church did, was we're going to create our cathedrals to look like heaven so that you feel so important and special in it. You know, it's all this facade and it's ridiculous foolishness, folly. And I think that a lot of Catholics would say, you must not really be God then. I think, how would they know God, who God is? I don't think they would know. I mean, you can't forever stay in a religion, and I know again, my family's Catholic. Stay in a religion and never want to see the truth of it because you don't want to think for yourself. And even, you know, like I've said, my mom does. I've had these discussions with my mom. She's like, yeah, that's true, but I like it. And it's like, and I won't say this to my mom, but I would say it to other people. I'm like, so it's all about you then. It's not about what God wants. It's about what you want. Because, see, that would piss people off, right? I mean, that would piss my mom off if I said that. But it is. In all honesty, that's what it is. It's about you. You want to be in the big, pretty cathedral because then it makes you feel special. But what is it that Jesus wants? The people just don't, I mean, it's the thing. So compared to the Protestant or the Presbyterian church, it's like, oh, of course the Catholic, look at it. It's just so magnificent. Of course it is. I mean, the gates of hell are always very pretty. I mean, but I seriously think that most, I think that there's some Catholics that they know that there's pagan elements in it, because they did allow the pagan elements to replace saints and all. And it's just okay with them because everybody does it, which is really the worst reason to do it, because you don't want to be on the road where everybody else is. Do you see what I'm saying? Because God said people that are on the broad road, when everybody's in that religion and it's most of the world, what is it, 1.8 billion, then you know it's the wrong road. Because God said that's not the right road. Most people will not be on the right road. You see what I'm saying? And that's all just lights and flash and, you know, make the music sound like they're all angels, and it's all ritual. It's all ritual. It's all show and magic. You know, just, you know, incense, smells, sounds, how it's, you know, appealing to the eye. It's very, very, very mystical. So because people want that experience and want to embed themselves in that experience, then it becomes more about them, and they don't even realize that they don't even want to think about what God wants. Because which church do you think God wants you to be in? So as far as the founders go, it's like all of the Christian denominations were getting along for the most part. It's just one, because everybody was fleeing that one. And given that one's history and what the founders know, why any politicians, Democrat or Republican, decided to partner with that church on anything is beyond me. To me, that was, even if you want to say, no, but we didn't make it a state religion, it doesn't matter. That's the one you've put out all over the place on the news. So then what you're showing God is that you're encouraging that one. That's not separation of church and state.